From EPAWA Weather Consulting, headquartered in North Whitehall, Pennsylvania, this is Weather Weeklies, an informative video of the ins and outs of weather that affect you most in the EPAWA coverage area. The thoughts and opinions expressed in this video are those of the forecaster alone and may not reflect those of the staff of EPAWA Weather Consulting LLC as a whole, nor its constituents. Now, without further ado, here is meteorologist Bobby Martrich with Weather Weeklies.
And good Sunday morning to another edition of Weather Weeklies for Sunday, December 19th. We're going to have a decent amount of information to go through here in this video, and this is relating to the longer range pattern for the next 5 to 6 weeks. A lot of people are saying, where's winter? Where's the snow? If you've been watching these videos for quite some time, we know our timeline of when we expected snow and when we didn't expect snow. I'm not sure why people are coming to me asking me this, like as if I didn't put this information out, ad nauseum, because I have. So as long as you understand that the pattern that we're heading into that I describe in these videos, or if you don't like watching videos and you would rather read the long range outlooks, make sure you actually read them, because it actually says in there what's going on. So a lot of us were teased last year because we had this big storm. Now I'm not trolling you here with this, because this is the snow lovers anyway. This is last year, December 16th and 17th. We had a nor'easter roll through here and dumped a pretty good amount of snow, and then some snow and sleet further southeast. But it's an epic snowfall up here in the capital belt across New York State, from north central Pennsylvania all the way through parts of New England. So we had a really good start last year, and then we had a really good finish as well, with another big storm coming at the end of January. So, or actually, the 31st and the 1st. So we had another really big one, a long wait in between those two systems, however. But this year we're expecting maybe this transitional period right now where we just entered. We're in this transitional up and down period, not too far from average for the next week or so. And you can see that reflected in our long range outlook. I might need to extend this. I have near to slightly below average to the 26th to 29th. This might be an extension of that near to slightly above average, okay? There is some differences in, depending on what model you look at, that have been all over the place. Differences in how they're handling the Matt and Julian oscillation, which is your convection along the equator, and, the best convection areas are driving the pattern. So, with that said, there might be a little delay, and there's a reason for that, and I'll show you here in this video. But the delay is only going to be like a couple days, 2 or 3 days, not a big deal. But other than that, we are still heading into a slightly below average pattern, and a true pattern change that's going to take place between Christmas and New Year's, probably closer to New Year's, but still, it is still taking place. By the way, I have the subscribe button, like, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications for this video. It's going to help us tremendously when we get into through the winter. When we have a bigger winter storm or we have severe weather coming at us, we'll have some nowcasting live streaming that we'll be doing to give constant updates that you can kind of jump off and jump on the stream whenever you want and pick up from there. So we're going to have that live streaming capability. It is all set up, ready to go. We just need the storms. Don't have that yet. So this is not where you subscribe, though. It's down here. If you hover over this area here, the subscribe button is there, and of course you can like the video and click notifications to get those notifications for those events when they do start taking place. So again, we're heading to slightly below average. Not a lot of precipitation. We got a couple of weak short waves coming through next week, but they might be they're marginal. Maybe like far north, you might have the start as some snowflakes or some little bit of light snow, and then going over to rain, like a warm front we have right around Christmas. We'll see. I don't see us being in a white Christmas situation here. But once we get closer to New Year's, just before, there's another one of those waves coming in, and the temperatures are going to start going down. So we're going to have the opportunities here to get the snow. Now here in December, we're not going to reach these totals. It doesn't look like, unless we have something majorly turn around in the next week or so. Today's the 19th. You might have something said at the end of the month here that could get you close to this. We have slightly below average snowfall for the month of December, but if it was going to happen, we've been saying all along it's going to happen at the very end of the month, nothing in between, because we had these really warm periods. And then in January, average snow just about doubles everywhere across the region. Now, we have slightly above average in January for snowfall, which is, quite ballsy considering we haven't had anything just yet. But I do think we turn around once we hit into January And pretty confident in that, actually, because we have, again, this is all going to come down to MJO progression. So we'll get to that in a second. Here is the weekly update on current ENSO, your sea surface temperatures in the equatorial Eastern Pacific. That's the areas we're concerned about. It's continuing to get cooler from week to week here, and this is now down for some Nino 3 and 1 and 2, which are the far eastern regions along getting close to the Peruvian coast there in South America, are getting cooler faster than everywhere else. But everywhere else dropped off about 0.2, 0.3 this week. So this is what your current temperatures are. And as far as sea surface temperatures are concerned, and you look at an anomaly chart, this is the area we're concerned about. And you see it is weighted to the eastern side currently with those coldest anomalies. Now, this is a little misleading, okay, because people see this and are like, oh, well, these temperatures are cold here. Water temperatures are cold. Well, no, they're really not. This is just an anomaly and relative to average. It's not saying that it's cool at all. These are not cool sea surface temperatures. And they can support convection out in this area especially, which is the phase 8, phase 1 area. They can support convection out in that area because it's plenty warm. I'll get to that here in the video here in a second. Comparable analog here is very similar to 2017. This is the 18th of, this is what the sea surface temperatures look like on the 18th of December in 2017, and it's very similar to what we have now. Some slight change in variation here, but it's, it's pretty much the same general idea. Maybe not weighted east-based as much as it is currently, but this might iron itself out here, and it's still a basin-wide event overall, just leaning east-based here, which has implications on the pattern as well. So if it's leaning east-based, some of this convection here will reach these warmer waters in the near the Eastern International Date Line and could give you some jet stream changes down the road. Okay, we're not quite there yet. All right, here's what the Madden-Julian Oscillation is. Again, this is a measure of your best convection along the equator globally near the tropical convergence zone all the way around the globe. And we're looking at the northern hemisphere, of course. But this is what we're looking at right now. We're kind of stuck in this. We're teetering between phase 6 and phase 7. And it's been hanging around here a little bit longer than it was supposed to. And there's a reason for that. And that reason is creating some model confusion with the projections going forward. So this is the Australian projection here, and it takes it through phase 7, and not quite as quickly as it looked like it was going to do last week. It's really at the very tail end of the month, and maybe in early January it gets it to phase 8 barely, okay, and then it runs it through phase 8, and then maybe even 1 once we get toward the middle of January. Possible. That's what the latest projection there for that is. But for phase 7 in a negative ENSO, which we're in now, La Nina, phase 7 in December is really not that great of a look for us. We have warm air all around us to our south and southwest. The southeast ridge is very strong. Center of the country has a lot of warmth. We get these little diving troughs up here in the northeast. This is what we're having this week, is we're going to have that transitional week where it's going to go back and forth between, well, is it going to be cooler or warmer, cooler or warmer? You're going to have a back and forth this week coming up. Next week to 10 days or so while you're in phase 7, you'll have this look here. Now, today's the 19th of December. That means we're going to be heading into January very soon, and the configuration for what this looks like in January is not the same. Okay, it's a lot different in January than it is in December. So this only applies to the month of December. And I submit that's important because not all models are gung-ho about taking this into phase 8. Okay, but I'm going to show you here in the next slide that it doesn't matter if it doesn't make it to phase 8. Once you get to the January, because phase 8 is a lot better of a look. Actually, in a couple slides, I'll show you that. So I'll show you why. Actually, right here. Here it is. Here's the European European mean, the ensemble mean. Notice it keeps it in phase 7 pretty much through early January, and it doesn't move into phase 8. Maybe after that. The weeklies are suggesting that after that, once you get to the end of the first week of January or early part of the second week, it finally migrates into 8. But it hangs into phase 7 this entire time. Well, in January, that's okay, because this is the look that you have in January, which is a much colder look. So that's a big difference between this, right? We had this here, and it's bottled up over the Great Lakes in northern New England, and that's why they had snow, and we didn't on Saturday, right? Because it's all bottled up there. All the cold is up there. Well, phase 7 in January looks a lot different, okay? So that's a good phase for you in January. So come hell or high water, once you move into January, phase 7 is going to take on different characteristics, and it's going to get cold one way or the other. And it's not like we have models showing this going back to 6, because 6 is not good. We don't have any models showing going back to 6. It's a debate of whether it's going to be 7 or 8, and that's it. There's not a debate whether or not it's going to go anywhere else. Phase 7 is really good, though, here in January, so it's going to change. It's just, delayed from what's probably most people thought it was going to do. And again, I don't do seasonal outlooks. I don't do it for a reason, and I'm glad I didn't do a seasonal outlook, because when I was looking at this in November, it looked like, hey, we're going to have a pretty early start to the winter season. It didn't materialize. It didn't, and now there's a lot of egg on a lot of people's faces. This is why I don't do it, because it's pointless. We have enough trouble with the next 5 to 6 weeks, and we've been doing that pretty well. But once you go past that, you start getting a little hairy, little fishy. Okay, here's the problem for the model confusion, why they're so different. The GFS is doing something similar, not quite as slow as the European model, but it is slower taking it into phase 8 as the compared to the Australian model. Reason for the confusion is this bugger out here. This is a Typhoon that went right across the Philippines, did its damage, came into just east of Vietnam, and then now it's heading off to it expected to head off to the north and east in either southern China or Taiwan, and then dissipate. At that time, once it gets out of the way, the convection in the phase 7 region could take over. You see that flare right there? So this is actually making it take a step back a little bit because of this presence here. This becomes your best convection because it's a Typhoon. So all this other stuff is meaningless at this time until this gets out of the way, and then finally you get some convection building here in the phase 7 region. Initially 6, and then you got phase 7 here building up here toward the end, as you can see right there. This is all phase 7 stuff at that point. So that is creating a little bit of confusion, and because of that, we're going to have this transitional week this week, I think, where we're dealing, and then eventually, once we get into January, then it starts turning colder again, but we're going to have that transitional week where we still have this warmth and this ridge right here. So any of these systems are going to go up and over that ridge there, and we're kind of marginal in our temperatures here, so it's probably not going to be any snow events until we get to the very tail end of the month at a minimum, when we start getting these colder temperatures into the region. All right. Now, we showed you what this is looking at like in phase 7. Even if it gets stuck in phase 7, who cares? We're still good. Okay, as far as cold and keeping the snow chances in place. What about phase 8? Well, phase 8 is the mecca. And this is phase 8 in January in a negative ENSO, and it is very good. You got a ridge in the western United States, not a trough, because I mean right now we're dealing with a trough right now, as you can see here in the western United States. As I move this, push this through here, see that trough here is all this cold air here, so you almost get like a bowl effect where it's going to be like this. Okay, you got a bowl effect where you have the cold just maybe not that far south. Let me try this again. You got a bowl effect here where it's colder in the United States, and then you have this ridging in the middle here, pushing up against it. And that's where you get your overrunning precipitation. But that's what you have in a negative PNA or a trough in the western United States. And that doesn't allow, if you have a ridge in the eastern United States, it's a lot different of a look. And this is what phase, went to the wrong one here. Hold on a second. There we go. We go to phase 8. This is what we're looking at for phase 8. So you have some blocking here, which we're expected to have. You have ridging in the western United States and a big deeper trough in the east. Well, there's some indications that we could have that going down the line here. And I have things out of order here. Apparently, let me just, I'm trying to find it. This is the GFS ensemble going forward. Has that warm period between Christmas and New Year's, or warmer, slightly warmer than average, and then you have these colder temperatures coming in here. Look what happens when the ridge builds here at the end, once you get into the second week of January. You get a ridge building here, and look at the response here. You get some really cold temperatures in that trough. This is a phase 8 look right here. This is a phase 7 look in December, and then once the calendar hits January, phase 7 gets a little more conducive for that to get squashed, as I showed you. So just flipping the calendar makes a big difference. January's a lot different when it comes to the Matt-Julian oscillation in the month of January. Here's the sea surface temperatures. I told you about the anomalies. These are the actual temperatures. And when you get out in the phase 8 and 1 regions, which are, if I can get into, hold on. There we go. I got multiple monitors here, and it's hard to keep track of which one I'm on at the same time. Your phase 8 region is right here. Your phase 1 region is right in here. Okay, so those are your regions. So these sea surface temperatures are 28, 29 degrees. That's 82, 84 degrees Fahrenheit. That's plenty warm to sustain convection to the international dateline. Even though it's slightly cooler than what average is, it's still warm enough to sustain convection, and so any of these waves can move into eventually phase 8. So it's not an unrealistic opportunity. Here's where those phases are and where they look like. Here's the international dateline. You can see those phases 8 and 1, and it's still plenty warm in there. So I'm hearing a lot of arguments from people saying, well, it's cooler there because they see these. They see this, right? That same area. And they see the blues. Well, it doesn't mean it's cool water. It just means that it's cooler than what is considered average there, but it's still 82 to 84 degrees, and convection can easily sustain itself in that region. So these projections of phase 8 are not without merit. They're not incredible. They are definitely, they definitely have merit, okay? So we can eventually get there. It just might take some time getting there, but again, phase 7 is not that bad. So we're going to change the pattern here. Pattern change is referring to significant changes in the North American continent with regard to the 500 millibar height anomalies and resultant change in temperature patterns. It has nothing to do with snow. That is not considered in a pattern change. Although snow usually comes in that, it's more probable to occur when it changes. The probabilities increase, but it's not a metric to define a pattern change. I use this every single week because some people think they hear pattern change, you're like, oh, we're going to get crushed with snow. No, it doesn't mean that. It just means you have a better chance of seeing snow rather than wet when it's colder. So this is what we had in mid-month. We had a big ridge here, very warm temperatures, right? Remember a couple days we had in the 60s. Some areas even touched 70. That one Saturday, I think it was over a week ago. So this is the upper air pattern at that time. This is what we're going to be heading into. With blocking, with a negative EPO getting here. Now, you still have that, again, that bowl effect, but you still have colder temperatures. This is early. This is looking right around New Year's, and you have some colder temperatures coming in here at this time that are going to sustain itself into January. This is a very sustainable pattern. And again, in phase 7 in January, it's a lot different than phase 7 in December. So here's what the temperatures look like, just looking at for the transitional week that we talked about. It's actually on the top part of banner of our website. It says transitional week. It literally has that. This is what transitional means. A lot of ups and downs in here, but you have some periods in here that are near to slightly above average, some spikes in there. You see that. Once you get past Christmas, though, between the 27th, 29th, this is kind of near average. These 40-degree temperatures here is about near average. And we start dipping slightly. We start going down as we head into very late December and early January. Now, this is using Lehigh Valley International Airport because it's our centermost point of our coverage area between the 4 states we cover, Northern Maryland, Delaware, all of New Jersey, and the eastern 2/3 of Pennsylvania. So this is our centermost point within that region. You can see everywhere it does the same thing. You have this transitional up and down week here, but it's not extreme up and down. It's still up and down nevertheless, but once you get consistently slightly below average, it's not going to be yet until you get out here into like maybe right around New Year's or just after, okay? So that's that, okay? As far as, again, these temperature periods I was talking about, this is the GFS extended. And again, if it just goes, you can see that transitional week go away, then you have just generally slightly below average for a while. January has the potential to be very cold. We have -1 to -3, slightly below average for the month as a whole, but it has potential to really get going here in the cold department if this ridge can get established and we can get into phase 8. And that would also be a cold and stormy pattern if that were to occur. Phase 7 is not a stormy pattern. You get a lot of overrunning precipitation events, so you can have, snow changing to rain, or maybe you get an all snow event, but it's a quick moving thing, so it's not really something that dumps. Upside is something kind of like we had yesterday in New England. Okay, except now it's further south if we had that. So you can get that in phase 7, a lot of overrunning stuff. But once it's really, and they have some stuff here. This is the Euro Weeklies for that same area, Lehigh Valley International Airport. It has something small here at the very tail end of the month. And it's probably going to be most likely a mix event type thing. We have some snow, whatever. But it's not until you get into January where these start just going up and up and up. But it's nothing screaming a tremendous amount of snow. Okay, once you get out here toward the middle of January, if we can reach phase 8, this might help us a lot for some more meaningful snowfalls instead of just these nuisance events. because I think for a while before that, anything you're going to get is going to be a nuisance. But if you notice, these are all 50 ensemble members, and all of them have snow, and a pretty decent amount of them too. Have a pretty decent amount of snow that's exceeding. Most of these are exceeding 10 inches here in this, or actually a foot. Okay, so most of these are exceeding a foot of snow between now and the end of the run, which is, I can't even read this here. This is the end of January. So it's not a lot of snow. Like January, again, for this particular region, for this area, normal there, I think it's 14 inches. Let me go back to that image here. Oh, no, it's 10 inches. So it's slightly above average if you're getting to a foot or more. So I think, regardless whether the pattern's going to change here going forward, it's just going to take some time to get there. And the pattern, this is just a transitional period between now and like maybe the 28th, 29th. And after that point, we should be below average. Again, because once you hit to January, phase 7, even if it's stuck there, that's fine. It still means something completely different than it does in December. So just keep that in mind if you're hearing that out there. Like, oh, we're hearing the grumblings about, we're not going to make it to phase 8 because everybody wants phase 8 because that's the mecca. That's everybody wants that big ridge, big trough in the east, big storm chances. If we don't get there, that's still okay. We still have the colder than average temperatures expected during that period up until that point, if it gets to phase 8 or not. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So text alerts, premium form, and merchandise are available on our homepage. You can either click up here in the top right-hand corner and get that, or on our homepage, EPAWAweather.com, you have next to the video where you can sign up for the winter subscriptions, the text alerts, the premium form. This has been ongoing for some time now. We haven't had a lot of events just yet, but that's going to change in a hurry once we get to January, as we suspect. And also, we have a merchandise store where you can buy some of our merch, which we have for sale here. This actually benefits local charities, which is the Salvation Army in the near term. So for a summarized summary here, we're looking at the La Nina progression to continue to, we're going to continue to monitor that, then building similarities of 2017, 2018. We still maintain that it is still like 2017, and continuing to monitor the MJO progression and timing over the next couple of weeks, because I think we do progress through phase 7 and phase 8, but it's going to take some time to get to 8. Eventually we'll get there. I think it might be delayed a little bit, but phase 7 is still okay in the month of January. Still is snow is still on a holding pattern until late month and or January with transitional phase 7. Okay, we're transitioning in the meantime, so White Christmas is unlikely. Snow lovers, you'll just have to be patient, and it is coming. It's just not here yet, but I do think it comes in eventually. So we're going to get there. It's just a matter of just being patient in the meantime. I'm EPAWA meteorologist Bobby Marchus. As this edition of Weather Weeklies for Sunday, December 19th. I do plan on having another one next week on the 26th, because it's after Christmas, in between the holidays there. So we will have another Weather Weeklies update here on that day. Take care.